Okay, I'm recording myself, testing 1, 2, 3. This is Ben, and say anything.
Every time you say that, I have to say anything. So say anything. It's just I can't stop myself.
And now I'm thinking about that movie again with the guy with the boombox.
Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have our friends from left to right on my screen, Karen and Will. Will does the Skeptic Metaphysician podcast, which you can find on Facebook at the Skeptic Metaphysician, and also the podcast itself on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, a bunch of different places. Thanks for being here. Good to meet you guys.
To meet you too. Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Definitely. If you feel like I covered the bases on your social media and presence where people can find you, I'm going to fumble with my word. Well, I always fumble with my words, but I don't know if you wanted to say a little bit more about the podcast, what it is, that kind of thing.
Sure. This show, I started the show because I was interested in all things metaphysical, whether it's out-of-body experiences or past life regressions or ESP, things like that. And slowly, but it's been turning into more of a journey of self-discovery. I've always been interested in that kind of thing. So I've thrown myself into crazy situations. I've joined a coven of witches. I've tried astral projecting 1,000 times. And I'm sharing not only my experiences, but also bringing in a lot of thought leaders in the space. So I've spoken to psychics who help the police with missing persons investigations and things like that. Just to try to prove to myself that there is something out there besides this third dimensional or three-dimensional world that we live in. And Karen is my special guest on that show because she's way smarter than I am. She can actually ask the really good questions where I just sit there and look pretty. So.
Right. Beauty in the brains, right? There you go.
Exactly.
Wonderful. I love that. I don't know what to make of that stuff. I'm what I call a credulous skeptic. I'm willing to believe anything if there's sufficient proof for it. So I'm hugely open-minded, and the bar for is it real is pretty high for me. So I'll consider anything. I love all that stuff. What does it mean? I have no idea. What are dreams like? What are lucid dreams? What are prophetic dreams? I have friends, people I know in real life who say they had a dream, and point by point, experience by experience happened within a week, the dream. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. But it blows my mind.
Yeah, and in fact, that's why it's called the show's called the Skeptic Metaphysician, because I'm a scientific at heart and mind. I gotta have proof. I need to know it. My tagline is like Mulder, I want to believe. Because from the X-Files, I really do want to believe. I want to feel that physical proof. It's really a great stepping point for those who are interested in the metaphysical, but aren't completely convinced that the thing exists. So we explore it together to see whether or not this thing makes sense or whether it's just a big bunch of hooey.
For sure. Yeah. And that's a great thing to do. Like you say, go and join in the activities or experience, say, with a coven of witches. What do you do? What is this? What does it feel like to be a part of this? I love those kind of experiences. There's no way to know sometimes, but just get your feet wet. Just jump in the water and see where it takes you.
Exactly.
Good deal. Well, we are today we're going to talk to Karen about her dream. So as per my usual process, I'm just going to shut up now, listen to you tell it kind of chronologically, first thing you can remember till you wake up, and then we'll see what we can make of it. So I'm ready when you are.
Okay, great. Well, I have always had really vivid dreams my whole life. And this one particularly kind of reoccurs, but this specific dream is an old house. And I think it's my house that I have an older property in Orlando. And I'm pretty sure it's that house, but it doesn't look at all like it. And that house is a triplex. So it's got one apartment downstairs and two upstairs. But in my dream, there's, I guess, the one downstairs, then there's one upstairs, and there's another one upstairs. But you have to crawl through this really narrow, long kind of passageway to get to it. And it's like your body barely fits in there, and you have to kind of hike yourself up, and it's not stairs or anything, but it's climbing. It's like climbing through, I mean, not really a tunnel because it's, it's a house, it's, walls and stuff, but it's like narrow kind of passageways. And I get to the apartment, and it's really cool, like nice windows. Windows are always a big feature. And I think, well, nobody can live here because you can't get furniture up in this little tunnel to get to this apartment. But it's just, I look outside, I see the backyard. There's always a lake, and I don't live on a lake. But it's just like the biggest part of the dream is me climbing through this tunnel, sort of. I don't know. It's not a tunnel. It's like a passageway, I guess. It's like a hidden passageway. That's kind of a dream.
Okay. And when was the most recent time you had this dream?
Probably about a month ago.
Okay. And do you remember kind of the sequence of events that happened in that specific dream? Like, where did you start? Where did you appear in the dream when you first became aware you were dreaming, or not aware?
Gosh, right at the entrance of this tunnel thingy. Passageway, right in the passageway.
Was that during the times when I was locking you in the clothes hamper?
It might have been. It might have been. I had to crawl my way out.
Well, I think we solved it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. No.
Thanks for your help. Really appreciate it. That was a lot of help.
Right. So this is so right at the very beginning of the dream, you're at this entryway to a difficult, narrow passage.
I'm into it. It's not. It's like kind of like you know how attics, you can have that piece of wood you can scoot over, and then if they're not the kind with the stairs, there's like you put a ladder up and there's like this hole. It's kind of like that's like a hole, but then the hole, it's kind of built around, so it's like an intentionally built kind of squared off passageway. And sometimes I have to like really hike myself up to the next level, and
okay,
so I'm very athletic in this dream. Lots of upper body strength.
Good deal. So that's
That should be obvious.
Definitely. It looks like you definitely are. So the first thing you're aware of in this most recent dream was being in in a hallway where there's a hole that you can access.
I'm like kind of already in the hole. I'm like kind of halfway, like it starts off in the hole. Gotcha.
So this sense of knowing that it is an old house and that it reminds you of a house you did live in real life, but also knowing that it is not actually the same house. Those are all impressions you get at that time.
Well, in my dream, I think it's that house.
Okay.
In my dream, it's that house, and then I wake up, I'm like, well, that didn't look at all like that house. But in my dream, it's the house.
Oh, I had that backwards. So it's in the dream you believe it's the house, but looking back on it, you look at it, it's like it's not in the same shape, configuration, appearance of that. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I get some dead air sometimes. I write as fast as I can, but it takes a minute sometimes.
No problem.
We do our best work in dead air.
Right? So the actual place you appear is you're already in the passageway.
Yeah, like right at the entrance, like I'm like crawling into it. So yeah. Like mostly in it. Like my upper body is in it. My legs might be dangling. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. But it's that's an interesting thing too. So as I go along, I put little carrots, and I'm like, so why appear already, say, on the path? If we conceptualize it that way, you don't appear looking at it where there is even a moment of you could change your mind. You could take a different path. You're like, you imagine yourself at the start of this dream as on this path already, like committed to it in some manner. So I make little carrots like that. Seems interesting. We'll come back around to it and see what happens.
Okay.
So I don't know how detailed you can get. And sometimes dreams are very specific, every thought and emotion, every literally twist and turn, like of this passageway you're talking about. But I would like to roll through it as chronologically as possible. So you had just entered into it, and what's the shape of the space you're standing in? Or is there any room to stand? Is it how?
No, there's no room to stand. There's no room to stand.
What size would you estimate it is? I mean, is it like pressing against your shoulders, or?
in some parts, because it kind of gets more narrow, and I have to like really squeeze in to get to the next thing, and then I might open up a little bit. It's a long tunnel thing.
So it's just barely.
But I can never stand up in it. Really, it's never big enough for me to stand up. But sometimes there's more room, and sometimes there's like more narrow, less room, I guess.
Yeah. So what is the first physical feature? What's the first twist or turn or climb that appears to you as you're moving forward through this thing? And do you have any thoughts of, gosh, this is strange, like right off the beginning, or not?
No, it just seems like that's where I'm supposed to go.
Okay.
And I'm just climbing through it. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm not excited to get to the end. I'm just climbing through it. And it's white. The walls are white.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff.
There's a light at the end. No, I'm kidding.
There may be. That's another thing too. Were there lights in this, or was it just lit, say, from no known source? Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't a dark, cramped.
No, it's not a dark tunnel.
It was cramped, but it wasn't. And that's interesting too. It doesn't seem to have been. It looks like just painted sheetrock, like any other hallway in a house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that might stand out too, just, and you can pay attention to these little things when I throw them back at you as well and try and think about it for when we get to the end. But the idea of it wasn't the exposed interior of a wall behind the sheetrock with a bunch of, you weren't like inside the walls of the house, so to speak. This was a finished passageway, as if someone expected you to use it and you're like, this is ridiculous though. I mean, certainly looking back on it, like, as you were saying, how do you get furniture up here? No one can live in this, can access the space because it's so hard to get to.
But it's really pretty once you get there.
For sure. Yeah. No, I think that's a significant part too.
And I kind of mentioned I have this dream, and I'm always crawling through. I've been on a spaceship crawling through a passage. Sometimes it's a dilapidated house when I'm crawling through the passage. Gotcha. But this particular one wasn't.
So just in broad strokes, I'll make a note of that too. The recurring part seems to be crawling through convoluted, twisty-turny, narrow passages.
Narrow passages. Yep.
You'd be surprised what they can do with IKEA stuff to get furniture in there.
Right? I just had a friend of mine post he's going to make some cabinets or something, and he was cutting boards, and he said he was doing an IKEA project, and I cracked a stupid joke about like pegs and mortise and tenons being the original IKEA, just pop together stuff.
This podcast brought to you by not IKEA.
Definitely by making it home. Why not? It's a great hobby. So we got a little bit more of the, like, where's the light source coming from? Do you have any awareness of yourself in there? Are you you? Are you someone else? Do you ever see yourself at any point?
I'm me. I can feel the climbing. Like, I can feel that hoisting myself up.
Okay.
And stuff. So, I mean, I think it's just like you see yourself in normal life. You see you don't see your face. You see your arms, and it's just like if I was climbing through anything. That's what it's like in the dream.
Okay. And a sense of your body. Like some people have dreams where they never, they're picking up things. They're walking around. They never see themselves. They don't see their shoes if they look down. They never see their hands when they grab something. That might or might not mean anything, but so
no, I see all that, and I can feel like I said, myself pulling up or pushing up, and like I can feel the effort that it takes.
Yeah, and that is too.
It takes effort.
And that detail, that's another one. These things are all fascinating to me. Why feel the effort? You don't have to. It's a dream. So there's something relevant to the idea that effort is being experienced as a feature, as something your mind is drawn to. Look at this, feel it. Okay. Now we've got another kind of piece of the puzzle on that. So you crawl into this space, and does it immediately just like go over, or is it all kind of up? How does it kind of lay itself out?
I don't know. It's like just a series of, like, I climb up to the next place, and then I have to like kind of jump up to the next ledge, or it's not like just one smooth kind of tunnel. It's, I guess, like a series of, you have to get up to the next one, stand up, and then hike up to the next one, or hike yourself up to the next one, climb up on that, then kind of like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like, rock climbing or something where you're like, kind of reaching up to.
Yeah, I was going to ask you is that a hobby in real life? Any kind of climbing activities? Okay. just throwing that out there. You're getting mental images, thinking back on it now, of the nature of it, the idea that there's brief horizontal pieces, and then another place you got to hoist yourself up and zigzag your way vertical. Do any of them stand out as different than the others? A different experience, like suddenly you were expecting to stand up and find another ledge, but it goes the other way. Anything like that stand out?
No.
Did it seem pretty uniform? It was always the same amount of distance? No. Okay. Well,
all of the obstacles or whatever you want to call them are slightly different.
Okay. So that was actually... Oh, go ahead.
Did you feel claustrophobic at all?
No.
You were fine in the little space?
I'm fine. I don't really get claustrophobic per se. If I can't move my arms, like I did one of those spa wraps and I almost freaked out because I could not, like I was in my heart.
I don't like that either. Yeah. Feeling
Memories.
Like, do not swaddle me.
Yes. Yes. And if it's a tunnel and I know it's a short tunnel, I can go through a short tunnel.
But this doesn't seem very short. It seemed like it kept going on and on. I think after a while you'd be like...
Well, in my dream, I'm going somewhere. Like I know that I'm getting to point B. Like this is how you get there. So it's not like I'm just randomly coming through the tunnel and voila, I end up at this place. It's like I know that's where I'm going and this is how you get there.
Gotcha. So one of the reasons you might say you had no fear is because you knew this path. You knew it had an ending, and maybe whether you had an awareness that you'd been there or not, you knew that you could make it. It did have an end, and when you got there, you'd be out of the tunnel, so there was nothing to fear.
Right.
Okay.
I was intentionally going somewhere. All these years together, and you did not know my climbing dream, huh?
No.
Man, thanks for asking, dude.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we don't even think to mention these things either. It's just like, oh, I have dreams. Who cares? Or who's interested? We don't even think people would want to. My wife and I have a habit sometimes of she'll just that's what she does is in the morning she just tells me, here's what I dreamed last night, and then when we talk about it. So that's just kind of become a thing with us.
Yeah,
so,
I guess because of what you do, that's exactly. But hey, after all these years, thanks for sharing that dream with me.
For sure.
Spaceship. I knew it like the spaceship one. It was very Star Trek, just climbing through the air passageways to get to the next place.
Holding out on me.
So
that dream I was escaping. Sometimes the crawling is escaping.
Oh, I'm going to move that mouse away from the record buttons. I'm going to hit that, or a cat's going to step on it. That actually happened. So I was telling you earlier, I don't know if we were recording the little black and white tuxedo that walked past the frame. His name is Prince, and he actually devoured episode number 8. I call it episode ATE because he ate it. He stepped on the keyboard, which now I keep the keyboard pushed away. I did about an hour and a half conversation with this guy from, I want to say he was living in Italy or something. Gone. No one will ever hear it. He got a personal dream interpretation just for him.
Wow.
Yeah. So you got to learn those lessons early so I don't lose another episode down the road.
And just like something Prince would do. He just wants just the spotlight to himself.
Yeah, and if there's at some point he's probably going to come and lay all over the papers. He waits until I get about 5, 6, 7 of them out there, and then it's his new bed. So we'll see.
Don't we all do that?
No, just you, honey.
Oh,
spread paper on the floor and lay on it occasionally. Just don't wrap me in it.
I trained him. Paper trained him.
Paper trained, yes. So you're in there, and you say it's also, I would say, remarkable that there's no uniformity to the path. And that's a striking feature as well, because you could imagine, well, there will be uniformity or there will not, and those two probably mean something different. So I would say there's probably something to the idea that as you phrase it, all the obstacles are slightly different one from the next. So that's I just put a little caret next to that. What is the nature of the exit portal to the actual apartment? Now that you've made it there, is it you just kind of stand up and boost yourself up on the floor, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really remember that part.
Okay, and sometimes in dreams there's what we just call a scene change. Just bloop, your brain is done thinking about, okay, zigzags, and you're in the apartment. That's enough of that, and it just moves on. But that might also be
alien abduction.
Absolutely, but sometimes it might be significant or not significant. And again, I'm throwing in a lot of commentary here too. But the idea is sometimes the scene change is triggered by the experience immediately prior. Sometimes it's relevant that you don't know how you got there. Sometimes that is a relevant fact as well too. So we probably put a caret on that next to my little delta mark here. Suddenly in the apartment, where do you appear standing or sitting, or how do you appear in this space? Are you in a living room, entryway, bedroom?
I think I'm in the living room, but I'm not there much time. I walk to the bedroom because the bedroom is pretty. See, I have two dreams. I've had it twice and they're really similar, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm not confusing them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's like the same dream, but different apartments. But one feature that they both have are big windows.
Okay. And that's a large window in the living room or in the bedroom?
In the bedroom.
Do you remember windows in the living room?
I don't.
Any furniture features, or is it just empty, like ready to be rented?
It's empty, yeah.
Okay.
I never see the kitchen or the bathrooms, or they're not missing. I just don't go there.
So you go into the bedroom, and is the bedroom space also empty, like the living room?
Mm-hmm. It's empty.
Okay. And then are you drawn, or do you move to the window immediately and look out?
Gosh. I don't think so. I think I'm just noticing that it's a really pretty bedroom.
Okay. Any similarity or dissimilarity to how the passageway was decorated, so to speak?
It's just white. Just, no colors or anything. It's just white. So yeah, so I guess it's all just white.
White carpet or floor as well?
I'm
seeing hardwoods in my head, but that's because I got hardwoods.
I'm going to say, I think it's hardwood floors.
Okay.
I think it is hardwood floors.
Any particular color that comes to mind?
It's regular brown.
And then do you remember having a thought or an experience before you moved over to the window, or did you ever actually move over to the window?
I don't think I moved over to I'm trying to make sure I'm still sticking with the same one. I don't think I ever moved over to the window. But I think I'm thinking about how I'd love to live in that apartment. We rent it now, so we can't go back. It's rented, and obviously that particular apartment does not exist. But I think about how I'd like to live there because it's really pretty, and then I think about how can anybody get furniture up in there? So.
And then kind of bouncing back. Well, oh, it is so warm in my garage. I don't have an air conditioner out here. Sorry. Oh, wiping sweat. Go behind the scenes action there. Probably not going to cut that out either. Just bounce. Say again. Sorry.
You never know you were in your garage.
Right. Actually, I live out here. I put my bed and my computers, and this is like my office, like This is my little mountain cave where I do my crazy mystic mountain man dream interpretation stuff. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
I want a mountain cave.
right. I just wish I was way up on a mountain and not like in the suburbs of a city. But
That one you just have to crawl through this passage to get to.
right. and speaking of that, so I want to understand that a little bit better for myself. Like way back at the beginning, you were saying you did have a real life, say, house, a triplex that you did own or do still own.
We still own it.
You still own it, and now, so this is a dream pretty much about a place that you used to live, but now you own it and you rent it out to other people, but it does exist.
Yes.
And it's still technically an asset that you're attached to, something that takes at least effort on paper to manage. It isn't something you're separated from in your life. Like we sold it, we don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay.
No.
Yeah, so that would be a very natural thought for you to say, gosh, I'd love to live here, but how would you even get furniture up there? And you also had, and that idea of getting furniture up there was attached to the idea of being unable to rent it to even someone else. Or was it,
I think so.
or was it in relation to you wanting to live there, but you're like, how would I get my furniture in here?
No, I think it was how would anybody, how are you supposed to get furniture up in here sort of thought.
Okay. And originally you did mention that that big window, say in the bedroom, looked out over a lake. That's why I kept asking when did you move to the window, because I assumed you went there and you looked and you saw a lake outside the window. Or is that something you just knew? You just knew there is a lake outside the window?
I think both, because I've been to this apartment before in my dream, apparently, because I knew I was going there. But I think the windows are big enough that you could see from where I am. Like I don't have to go up to the window to look out.
Gotcha.
It's a very nice apartment.
Yeah.
But getting there's a real
Getting there's a pain. Need the Alice in Wonderland shrink and grow potion for the furniture.
That's true. Or you'll have to open a portion of the wall and forklift it in or something. Exactly. Get a big crane. Yes, the hoist. Yeah. Did you notice anything in particular about the lake? No. And during the stream, no other people, animals, nothing. You didn't see birds flying by, or
in the dream. At some point, I see one of the tenants downstairs. Like I think for a second, I'm in the actual. So the house that we have has it's a main entrance, and then there's a side door, and there's a stairway that goes up to the two apartments. I think like there's a flash of me speaking to one of the tenants in that little hallway, but I'm not sure where that happens in the dream. I just now remembered that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I think at some point, like, I never come back down through the tunnel in the dream, but I think I'm already down, and I'm maybe talking to a tenant about something.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question too. Was at what happened next after you could see the lake out the window? It's just woke up, or did something else happen? And did you go anywhere or do anything else in the apartment?
I never really do anything else. No.
Okay.
In that apartment. And in the one of the other versions of that dream where I'm in the room with the big window, the floors are crumbling.
Oh,
really bad. I mean, and it's a beautiful, huge room. It's prettier than the other one, but the floors are crumbling. And I'm thinking I need to get a contractor, but it's going to be really expensive. But it would be gorgeous if we could put all this money into fixing up that floor.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so that was basically the end of this particular dream. And this was the most recent one you had about a month ago. And then the one immediately prior to that, say, was set in this same house, but it was needing attention.
Yeah.
But it still had the same zigzaggy approach.
Different. It never looks the same.
Gotcha.
But the same sort of thing where I'm having to climb through this tunnel to get to it.
Yeah. So now that we've heard the specific dream that we're going to kind of focus on a little bit first, and we've gone through it again, pull out a little more details and whatnot. Now might be a good time to compare it. Well, there's two things we could do. I'll leave it up to you. We can throw it over to you for if you had any sudden epiphanies while you were telling it the second time. Anything jump into your mind, or we can start trying to look at similar features from other dreams. Either one works.
Why don't we look at similar features from other dreams?
Sure. So just right off the bat, nothing came to mind. No sudden epiphanies on, now that he asked that, and then I think of that, something connected. Nothing right off the bat?
Nothing right off the bat.
No, that's fair enough. Sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. Most often people don't. So don't worry about that. But I'd like to ask first because I like to have as little influence on the interpretation as possible. This is like the diametric opposite of a dream dictionary. What I do is a dream dictionary say, you dreamed of a hallway. Here's what it means. I go the other direction. Not just leaving it all up to you. What do you think it means? But I say, could it be this? What do you think about that? I throw out suggestions of connections rather than answers. I was going somewhere with that. I think maybe that was it. Maybe I ran out of things to say.
Feels like we got there.
What's that?
Feels like we got there.
There you go. So I don't want to, that's what I don't want to do is I don't want to tell you what your dream means. That's not what I'm here to do, even though we're going to get to an understanding together. I guarantee that, but it's a different kind of a thing. So you maybe had in mind some connections to similar features. So there's always some kind of a path that is not straightforward or wide open.
This is like decades I've been having these kind of crawling through stuff dreams.
Gotcha. Maybe that's a good way to let's start a new page here. Common themes.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you could say a little bit about what different types of narrow passages, ziggy-zaggy, confined spaces you've had to go through. So in this apartment building, it is very much looks like an apartment. It's what I just used the word sheetrock walls, painted,
right.
Well lit. You said you had a spaceship dream, so you were obviously weren't crawling through a sheetrock walls in the spaceship. What was the?
It was like you would see in a movie when people are always going through the air conditioner shaft, or and it's like square and metal, and they're just kind of crawling through that.
Okay, and that one was mostly crawling, or was it also?
Yeah, that one there wasn't as much climbing. A little bit of climbing. That one I was escaping through that tunnel.
Mm. In that one, there was something chasing you, so to speak, or?
Yeah, I used to have a lot of escaping dreams.
Okay.
It's before she met me.
I got caught. And I've had another one where I climb up and it's dark. It's like climbing up into an attic and then go into another place in the attic and coming out. And I'm hiding in that dream. I'm hiding. I'm climbing somewhere to hide. And a couple, 2 or 3 different versions of going through the house, and it's always an old house. And I'm always getting to like a room, and the room's usually either beautiful or could be beautiful but needs a lot of work. But I'm always like climbing, tired.
Any other type of spaces? You ever have to say crawl through caves in a mountain or other different types of locations?
It's always a structure. It's always like a man-made structure.
Okay.
I'm not climbing up a tree or anything like that.
Anything other than a house or a spaceship?
A parking garage one time.
Parking garage.
I was escaping from bad guys. And I just climbed up into some...
The rafters of the parking garage? Parking garages are pretty open.
I don't remember. Like, it's not... That one wasn't very detailed. That was just a quick... That might have been a stairwell, actually. I might have been just running up the stairs and up the stairs. That's not the same, then. That would be different.
Yeah. Maybe so. Depends on like how narrow the stairs were. That's its own kind of obstacles. Yeah.
They weren't that narrow in that dream.
Okay.
Normal stairs.
Any other common features of the? So what you said was in the house dreams, you almost always exit the passageway to some other place, and it either needs work or looks beautiful as it is. Did you arrive at a destination in the spaceship tunnels? Did you come out into a room there?
I think I did, but I think it was just like a room to run to get to the next. Like, I think I was going into the next passageway, but it just stopped there.
Okay.
Like, I got out and it's like, because I just had to keep hiding.
Is that the same with the attic dream, where you had to crawl through a passageway and you got into the attic, and once you were in the attic, in your destination, the dream stopped at that point?
I think so. I think in the attic dream, it was just a cool place. It was dark, so I couldn't really see it, but in my mind, it was like a place that I wanted to be, and I felt safe there. And then I had another one where I exited onto this terrace, and it's nighttime, and it's a really pretty, but it's a small terrace. Okay,
but then it was, say, being a terrace exposed to the sky and with a view, perhaps?
A roof, like a tile roof, one side of it.
Okay, interesting. That one kind of stands out in terms of you didn't exit the tunnel into a room. You didn't exit into a confined space. Yeah, that's interesting. And then, go ahead.
Sorry, in a confined space, she had big windows, though. So I'm wondering if that has something. If there's a correlation with open spaces or windows, or
holes in the floor.
Yeah,
that might be too as well. In the spaceship dream, do you remember viewports in the room to be able to see space outside?
No, that was just like the movies, like Star Trek, like the passageway. I mean, just
what did they call those tunnels? They called those tunnels something.
Torpedo tubes.
Well, they were
Jeffrey's tubes.
Jeffrey's tubes. I think that's what it was. Yeah, exactly. That goes all the way back to the original series. I remember watching those. In the early '80s. They were on right after Perry Mason.
I just watched them a couple years ago. I'm not that old to
right. Original, so. Not a bad place to start. Although I've heard if you're going to start watching the next generation and you want better production quality, start at season 3. Some people can't make it past those first years. Not everybody watched it live like I did in 1989. That came on the air. That was Encounter at Farpoint. That was the first episode. That was crazy.
What's funny is I actually just downloaded Encounter at Farpoint today.
Oh, shit. A little synchronicity.
I kid you not.
That's very cool. Oh,
funny.
So sweaty. Okay, so we have this common theme of crawling through passages and exiting into a new space of a variety of kinds. Any other similarities that you can put your finger on between different dreams in the same ballpark?
Whenever it's a house, it's always an old house.
Okay.
Like, 1800s old house. So, and the rooms, either they're like the floor, they're always empty, and either the floor is just crumbling or it's really nice. But just, old. And I like older houses, and I like the crown molding and the thick baseboards that are glossy. It's kind of like that, sort of. When I say nice, it's like that, but fixed up, but just, it's not like 1980s style or anything like that.
Like restored antique.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you notice that thing, that same thing with the spaceship, that it was kind of, what would we call it? Like aliens style of lived in, grungy, like this is a long haul space?
It's very pristine. It was
that one was very pristine.
So it was Next Generation, not Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. That was a better reference, probably, the Millennium Falcon than Aliens. But you did mention running away from something. You never knew what it was.
No, I think it was the aliens.
Okay, some kind of aliens. And when you were escaping into the attic and in the parking garage, do you have any idea of what was chasing you?
Men.
Okay.
And like more than one. So.
In the sci-fi one, was it an alien man?
No, like the aliens were invading, and we were like, people were just running and escaping.
Were the male aliens?
I never saw the aliens. Oh, it's just they were coming. In the parking garage, I saw the men. That's the only one that I've ever seen. And then whenever else I've been escaping, I just know I have to get away. But I don't know what it is I'm getting away from.
Gotcha. In the say classic male-female dichotomy men would be the alien other to a female person who has no idea of what it is to be inside that form, or so there's something there possibly.
Oh, great point. Yeah,
just an idea. It's where my brain goes. Like, what are the connections? I kind of live in an abstract world, and I got to pull myself down to concrete reality every once in a while. Where was that on that? So, any other common features that come to mind where you're like, I keep experiencing that also. Seems like running away from things is a bit of a theme. Seems like definitely traveling through twisty-turny passages is a thing. Debouching into rooms or other open spaces is another theme.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
I think that's all.
So one thing that came to mind as we were doing this is that, do you remember in the other dreams that experience of effort?
I always do. Yeah. I can always feel myself climbing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's always the physical sensation or whatever it is of climbing. Yes. You got to make it happen. That's one thing, as I was going to say, like getting into like the broad strokes of, okay, what does this all mean? There's something to like, I mean, the words that come to mind are difficult journey, but like a chosen path, something that you are. And that's why I mentioned that at the very beginning of being, you almost appear in the passageway. This is like where your mind begins the story is you're not considering whether or not to go on the path. You are committed to the path. You're on the path in your mind already. And now your mind's going to say, what does this look like? What does this feel like? What do I think about it? How do I make sense of it? So it's kind of, if you were in a decision-making process of, am I aware of something? Do I want to do something about it? I've chosen to do something about it. How do I do something about it? You've already not bypassed, but maybe committed from those. You become aware. You've made a choice, and now you're in the process of, okay, I'm doing the thing. Now I got to do it. So there's something in there about maybe the way you view responsibilities or commitments or responsibilities. It seems. I don't know if that rings a bell to you. Anything? It's like if you're getting a sense of significance with that idea.
I mean, I've always been uber responsible. Like I was, ever since I was a little kid, I was more serious, which is funny because now I don't think you would consider me a serious person. Would you? I mean,
no.
But when I was a kid, I was more serious. And, I got the good grades. I did all this stuff.
I think I would call you more focused, more driven than serious.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that serious anymore.
Yeah. Now we're getting into a little bit of the shades of meaning on some of these words. But this is great because that's how we make sense of the world. We have ideas and we put sounds to them and we try and tell each other what we're thinking and feeling with these blah, 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 out of our mouth, that blows my mind too. How does that even work? It's like the psychic communication. I'm going to take what's in my brain and put it into yours. Listen here. Whoa. So what was I going to say? You were serious. Was that the word we were talking about? Serious. You said. Say again.
Responsible.
Well, it was responsible, but you were saying you don't consider her serious, more driven.
Yeah, I don't consider her serious. That seems to be the word she was using. I see her more as she used to be more focused. She knew what she wanted. She knew how to get there. She did whatever it had to get to that destination.
Gotcha.
As opposed to being serious, where. So you started by saying you were responsible.
Yeah. And
you are, but then you transition to serious. And I don't know. I know of you a little bit when you were younger. I don't think I've ever seen you or has anyone's ever described you as serious, but focused and driven has been.
I'm thinking like younger. Like when I was a kid, like before high school.
You were serious back then?
I think I was. I think I was more serious.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of had to be. We had to be focused and, take care of ourselves. My parents split up when I was young. So, it's like if something had to be done, I had to get it done. Like even in school and the group projects, I was the one that finished the group project. I was,
So focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly where I remember where I was going. I get off onto tangents. I'm doing it again. I'm going to stop myself. Serious to some people means lacking fun. It's like inherent to the idea of stop screwing around, be serious. But you can be serious, say as a comedian. You are serious about making people laugh. You take it. It's the idea of taking something seriously, as in this has meaning, this has consequence. So there's multiple different ways to view seriousness. But I like the idea of saying, okay, well, what shade of serious or responsible are we talking about? And you mentioned focused and driven. But there's also this conversation going on about how that you feel like that has changed for you. You've become less focused, less driven over the past 10 years? Or have you chosen to relax a little because things are fine? You don't have to be so driven.
I wouldn't say that I'm less focused or less driven over the past years, but I would say my demeanor is more, I joke around a lot. I'm kind of ridiculous, but I wasn't like that so much when I was little.
So you meant it more the first way he said it, whereas
Yeah.
I was thinking it was more the second way he said it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was more, I think when we grew up, our home wasn't super secure, like financially. And I think there was this stress maybe. And so I couldn't just relax and be joking and, where now, like all of that's in my own hands and in our hands. Or even, before that, like once we got to high school, things were kind of more settled down and I could just kind of have more fun. And I think that's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then she met me and fun is over.
Over.
Seems like she met you and the fun increased, the level.
On the
handbasket. So when you think about everything we talked about for the last, 5 minutes or so, and you start looking at the dream from that angle of change in your personality, of how you approach problem solving and stress and dealing with responsibilities and getting things done with a positive attitude, or less need to put on a grim face, and you can laugh your way through it because you got this, you know how to handle it. There's something in there with the idea of knowing the twisty turny path you're on that takes effort has an end, and that you know how to get there, and that you've been there before, and that you're never worried about it. That says something about you as well, that experience in the dream. So when you kind of think about all those things together, does anything come to mind?
I was thinking about it just now, and I don't know if I was fortunate going to school. I did really well, and I took those, they give you those tests, which career should you follow?
Yeah.
All of them. Like I hit all of them. So it's like, and then, I started out in engineering and ended up with an art degree, and now, we work in TV. It's just, I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think maybe trying to pick something and just like pick a path. I don't know. Sometimes I think, well, I should have done this and I should have done that. I should have done the National Geographic thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Maybe that was too hard. Maybe I didn't want to go up that alley.
But it was. I didn't get a sense where you were choosing from different paths. It was just a path you had to follow, and it was, that was.
Yeah.
It just took effort for you to get there.
But sometimes the end is a good end, and sometimes the end looks like it could be good, but it's kind of treacherous because you could fall through that floor. Am I afraid of the result of my work, so I don't do the work, or am I knowing it's going to be good?
You go there anyway. You get to the end of the path because, in my estimation, and kind of how the way the world works is sometimes you don't know what's going to happen until you get there, until you've taken all the steps to arrive at where you're at, and then you can look at what happens there. You can guess, and with a fair degree of accuracy, if I do, the sun's going to come up tomorrow because it did yesterday. That's not going to surprise anyone. There's going to be a room at the end of the path. There's going to be a result for your efforts. You don't always know if it's going to be, this needs work, or, wow, this is great. I wish I never had to, I wish I could live here. And that idea struck me as well, is you put in the effort to move through this confined, difficult path. It's like, it isn't easy. There's something to that idea. And that at the end of it, sometimes you have such a wonderful result. You're like, I would just like to live here, as if what am I trying to say? The idea of wanting to hold on to that success, but then a few days later, there's another dream. There's always another path. You got to hoist yourself up and then see what room's at the end of that one. I don't know if any of this is having some meaning for you.
Well, there's never anybody in the room at the end with me, and I'm always alone. There was that one dream where for a minute I flashed on some tenants.
Yeah, and that was the most recent one?
No. The one with the tenants was not the most recent one. I don't know.
And was that the tenants at the beginning of your path, right? Not at the end of the path.
I think it was after. I think it was like after I had that dream, because I already knew the apartment.
Huh.
So
what were the tenants doing in your
I
place?
don't know. They were just kind of there when we were talking about.
No,
something.
we need to get better locks.
No, they weren't. They were in the hallway. They weren't in.
Oh, so they were in your journey with you?
No, they were not in the tunnel. They were, because that little portion was actually Pine Street. You know, that entrance on the side that goes up the stairs to the two apartments? They were like in that, if that passageway would need to be bigger, but they were in that passageway, just briefly.
At the beginning of the thing?
Right.
Okay,
but that wasn't crawling through that. That was not the one I crawled through.
Yeah.
I hope you catch
Same dream. I had already crawled. I already found this place. And then I kind of flashed down where I'm downstairs talking to these tenants.
So it's like you hamster wheel where you get go, you can't get very
Do
far.
not mock my dreams.
I'm not mocking. I'm trying to understand.
This is why I don't tell you. This is why you don't know about the tunnel dream.
I'm just trying to understand.
Be serious.
I gotta be focused.
Right? Focus, grasshopper. That is interesting too. So in that other dream, you were on the path, and it was during that traversing that you had, say, a flashback to when you had spoken with someone earlier. Is kind of the experience?
No, that's what he said.
Oh,
I had already been to the place.
Okay.
I had already made it to the apartment, and then like I'm downstairs talking to tenants. Not in the apartment. Like it's like a jump cut. Like
you
I went
had
from there.
The scene cut. Yeah. So you had reached it there, and then where? So the experience you had at that time was of being in the same building downstairs.
And that actually looked like my house.
And that one did.
Just that part of it.
And did you remember any of the content or context of the conversation? How did you feel about talking to them?
Like I might have been asking them for a key or something. If they had the key, or they might have needed the key. How did they get in? It was something like that.
Okay. And it may not be too relevant to rack your mind on it, but if something came to mind, and the idea of a key came to mind too, is like, yeah, and it's very interesting. You're in these spaces alone, and there's a bunch of different ways. This is why you don't want to do the dream dictionary approach, in my humble opinion. No offense to anyone who loves that stuff. It can mean a lot of different things. So someone might say, if you're alone, this is an indication you're lonely. Not necessarily. Like, I like to spend a lot of time alone, so it wouldn't surprise me to be alone. I mean, I've been alone in here for like 5-6 hours. That's just how I roll. But so unless it resonates with you, yeah, that lately you're feeling lonely, or over the past 10 years you have been, that's not the interpretation I would lean towards. Other suggestions I would have about it is the idea of how you conceptualize your efforts. And what I mean by that is the idea of, I think of projects I do, and it is me deciding to do it, me putting in the effort, me that created the result. So in a very real physical way, I am alone completely through that process, unless I'm working on it with someone else. So if you do have to make a lot of your own decisions, have to initiate and follow through on a lot of your own plans and create results independently, I don't know if any of that is resonating with you about this journey you seem to be going through repeatedly.
A little bit. Yeah, I think just with your work up until the last probably year or so, I felt very lonely.
Okay.
And I had to do everything. Like all the house stuff was me, like 100%. You know, that might have been part of it.
And you say these dreams started maybe about 10 years ago, as far as you can remember?
Probably. I think they were probably before you, but I mean, probably more than that.
Well, if you said they were going on for decades.
Yeah.
Not just a decade, but
multiple. 14 years. So it was probably before. you that I had the first one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How far back they went? Like when's the earliest dream of this kind you can remember?
Probably maybe 30 years ago.
I don't want to put you on blast, but is it okay to say how old you were back then?
I was in my 20s. Early 20s.
Okay. So. Okay. Good deal.
They know I'm 51.
So you had, yeah, it's good to know because you didn't have the first instance of this type of dream, say in your younger years with the unstable home. No, it wasn't in your high school years. You had already kind of hit your stride into early adulthood, and
I already owned my own house, I think.
And you already owned your own home at the time, and then there was this house that you're dreaming about, or similar. Or it was
that was that house. It was the first house I bought. Was that one?
And was the first dream of this kind about that house? No. Do you remember what the first one was about? How it was different? Was that the spaceship one? Or?
No, the first one was probably the attic one. Climbing up, and that had that sort of like that same kind of attic dream a few times.
Okay.
So the spaceship I've only had once.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. Has there been a progression in how these reoccurring dreams have changed? Like, was it the attic until it was a spaceship, and now it's the house, or do they mix and match sometimes?
Now mostly it's my house.
But it does.
And now something's different. That now, like the terrace one and another old house. I mean, now it's my house. So like those things all happened, but I would say within the last couple of years, it's become my house. That it doesn't look like my house, but it is my house. I know it's my house.
So over the years, it has come closer and closer to finally becoming where it's almost always you in this space that you own, and it's your house. I think there's something in there too. It's like there's also there's the way you perhaps conceptualize responsibility and following through and achieving results. And there's something about, you mentioned, maybe feeling a little lonely in the recent past, which if the dreams go on longer than that, it's not going to necessarily be that, but that will influence maybe how the dream expresses itself. But there's also this theme you were just talking about of the space becoming more and more familiar, and maybe over time you becoming more comfortable with yourself, like at home in your own space. I don't know if that's making sense to you. I think I'm not using the right words.
No, I understand what you're saying, and it does, but that kind of scares me because sometimes the floor is really dilapidated. Like you're gonna fall through if you step on it.
That just started happening when I came into the picture.
Right, no. just the last 10 years or so.
I've had a nice apartment dream with you in it too. Well, you weren't in the dream, but
yeah. But in these most recent dreams as well, the experience of being chased, pursued, running away from something, that's fallen away as well.
Yeah, that's gone.
Nice. There's this I'm getting this feeling of I don't know, I say this to a lot of people, but because it's mostly true, that there's very often themes of self-confidence and either lacking or growing, and it seems like that's been growing as well too. And I wouldn't even say that it's necessarily a bad thing, so to speak, that you come into the room at the end of the passageway and the floor needs work. Sometimes our brain says, we're treading on dangerous ground, or in your case, the project that you're working on has the potential to have a broken result. You may fail to achieve, or you may do the best you can and it's going to need more work. So getting there and seeing there's more work to do it kind of sometimes depends on how you feel about it when you see the floor. And I think what you'd mentioned was kind of that, this is going to need some work type of feeling.
It's really expensive. I think it's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe that's something about me. Like things are falling. My floor is starting to fall through. It's going to be expensive to fix.
That is possible. Well, I mean, you could be identifying the house with yourself in a way, but also just the idea that like as human beings, we go through, what am I trying to say? In some ways the work is never done, but that's not what I mean. It's like there's variable results of our efforts, and sometimes we doubt our ability to produce a result that is pristine. And so in this sense, your dream the most recent dream where you're in a very beautiful apartment, to me is speaking to that idea of your self-confidence and your ability to achieve not a satisfactory result, but a result you're really happy with, out of some struggle. And that's where I would start relating this maybe to what was going on in your life around the time of the most recent dream. What were you facing? Some challenges in those themes, some responsibilities that took effort to overcome, something like that.
I don't think, I don't know. Like in the last couple of years, I haven't really done much. Maybe that's the problem. I used to do so much, and I feel now like I haven't really done anything that I'm really proud of, maybe. Besides being a mother.
Fair enough,
I'm
which
proud
is
of that, but
that's
anything
that's its own struggle. Yeah.
Was that when we decided that you would produce that new show?
No, this was before that.
The most recent one?
No, yeah, I'm saying this was before that.
Because it's been about
Yeah, but it's
30
before
days.
that. Yeah, no, it's before a few months ago.
Okay.
It's just this type of dream just happens so often. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
I tried.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate the help. You got two interpreters here. When I fail, he can jump in and make me look good. It's good. I'm not pulling your chain. I appreciate it. And it's good to have. I had a mother and daughter. They do dream, like they talk about her dreams. That's the for all the folks who remember, what was it back episode 33, 34, something like that, is the non-expert dream experts. And the mother basically just interviews the daughter about her dreams, and they talk about it for half an hour, So I had them on as a guest. It was nice having them together. Some additional insight.
Yeah.
So there was something you said earlier that it keyed in my mind a different way of looking at it, or something else I was trying to express to you guys about the results. It's not results. What were you saying? It was the room. It's coming into the room and it needs work. Oh, self-confidence and self-doubts. That sometimes we're having dreams related to things we're going through, or things we anticipate going through, or things we recently went through. So dreams can go past, present, or future in terms of expressing what our mind is trying to process. And they can also, as you're experiencing, come back in these ideas where a certain way of understanding a process, a concept, is represented in a specific form, and then that form is just duplicated across multiple dreams. And it's like this thing that you've seen 100 times, and you know what it is, and you know what it feels like, except here's how it's different this time. It's the same thing coming back.
Do you think there'd be any significance to the fact that I always feel safe when I'm climbing?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Getting into this, like, maybe I feel better when I'm working, when I'm doing stuff. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not good at it. It wears on me emotionally when I'm not doing something, which is more often than not these days.
Oh, so I wonder if. Oh, here I go. Sorry, just over talk.
Oh, go ahead. Ask away.
I wonder if you feel safe or comfortable because when you're making the effort, but maybe you're having those dreams because you feel like you don't have as much to do, or you're not accomplishing as much. So in your dreams, you go to that place where you feel the most comfortable, and that's when you're accomplishing things.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, this is actually kind of what I was heading towards with sometimes I can't find the right words and mishmashing the concepts together, but that's what I was saying, this idea of self-confidence. Sometimes people are, you might experience the floors need work because you're worried, not that you've already done something wrong, but that your next effort won't be as good as it could be because maybe you're not attending to something. But this idea of feeling more comfortable when you're actively engaged in a project, you've got purpose and meaning to something you're doing, you're working towards a goal. That's pretty common to the human experience, by the way. It's like one of the worst things you can do to someone is take away their meaning, purpose, leave them with nothing to do, no reason to do anything. It's like, why even? I mean, literally, why live if you're not doing anything? So you may have this. You seem to have this personality that's a little more inclined towards being conscientious, responsible, taking care of business. And these dreams, maybe they're coming back at points, not low points in your life in general, but points where there's a lull. You're not as busy as you could be, and specifically not as busy as you think you should be. So your mind is going to this place where you think about being busier and what that result might be. Maybe this copy paste formula is coming back to every time you start considering a new project, every time a new potential for committing yourself to a path is put in front of you, and then your brain's kind of sleeping on it, so to speak. Like, okay, if I do that, what does it look like? Oh, the floors aren't so good in that room. What about this opportunity? Oh, an alien's chasing me. Maybe I don't like that one. I don't know if that resonates with you at all.
I haven't. I mean, it sounds, yes, that sounds, like that could really absolutely be what it means. I don't know. Just thinking about when I had these dreams, what was going on. I can't say, well, this was happening and then I was having these dreams, because it's just been, they've been peppered throughout my life. So I've had so many of them. I don't really focus on what's going on when I'm having them. Just more like, God, this dream keeps coming back.
Yeah. Well, the proof in the pudding, so to speak, will be if this dream stops entirely. If you never have another one for the rest of your life, we nailed it. And your brain is able to put that aside and move on to a different way of looking at the world. Then again, the dream may come back, but you'll experience it differently. There'll be some change in the formula that shows your perception or understanding has changed. That's why sometimes the dreams stop, because you get it. I don't need to do this anymore. The brain moves on. Sometimes the dream comes back in a different form, different elements, new things that are like, okay, now that you understand that, look at this too. Let's add that to the puzzle. So unfortunately, we won't be able to rubber stamp it and say solved after this interview. As long as you enjoyed talking about it, you got some insight to it, you got some understanding of what makes sense. Then we got to kind of wait and see. Literally, you got to sleep on it and try and get something else.
My kind of work.
Right? That's if only I could do dream interpretations while I was sleeping. That would be fantastic.
Oh my God!
That reminds me.
The name of the show is Dreamscapes, right? Remember, like the old movie.
I was just gonna say, if you remember the movie with the Snake Man, I love that movie. That guy scared the hell out of me. I'll get going back to the early '80s again.
Yeah. Oh, I just watched it the other day. I don't know.
Wasn't that the guy, the villain in that who did the Dream Assassin? Wasn't he the guy that was Warriors come out and play? Wasn't that the same guy? I think it was. If it wasn't him, it was someone really close to him. Looks like I'm gonna look it up. As soon as we get done here, I'm gonna look up. Maybe I'll find that movie on YouTube somewhere and watch it again. It's been a long time. Anyway, not to take us too far off the track, but did I hit all my little carrot marks? Let me appearing in the passage with sensation of effort. All the obstacles, I guess just the idea of all the obstacles being slightly different. Every new opportunity or challenge has its own unique features. You're going to have to navigate that passageway to the result slightly different for each new idea you're considering. That jumped to mind as I was writing it down. I don't know if possibly the idea makes sense to you, but if it really sings, if it's like, that's...
Well, I mean, if it does, like if I was to go back and figure out the timeline and it did kind of coincide, I've done so many different things as far as careers, and it would make sense.
Sure.
Because everything's been different.
And that's an interesting thing too, is I did get that sense, and it's good for you to have it, to spell it out for me that way too, of like you've had so many new projects that you've probably developed functional routines for project completion, like for the category of completing projects. You know how to organize yourself, you know how to assess the task, look at the elements that need to be completed and get to a result. Like over the years, you've put together a kind of meta formula for tackling projects. Mm-hmm. that might be related to the formula of the dream itself as well. And this idea of movement through twisty passages to result rooms. Seems like there's something there. I don't know.
Maybe if I had the dream after and the results ended up with how I felt about the results of the project.
Could be.
If I think it was me, then maybe that was the rotten floor.
Yeah.
So your best friend for the next few nights is going to be a book by your bedside.
I have to write down what's going on.
You got your, is that literally your dream journal?
Oh, it just happens to be the journal that's laying around. But yes, it's my dream journal. Yes.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah,
very
he
nice.
remembers his dreams.
Yeah, I have a hard time. That's why I brought Karen on to talk to you, because she's much better at remembering things, where my Swiss cheese memory doesn't. Like, I'll remember little bits and pieces, but all these details you're asking her, I'd be like, I don't know.
That's what I call it too. Did you get the Swiss cheese brain from Quantum Leap like I did?
Yeah, I love Quantum Leap.
That's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched it the other day.
You're just me with a haircut. No. I was going to say something else, but I amused myself way too much and forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract you.
No, that's okay. Karen, you were saying something. Oh, it was the idea of, again, you can be looking back in a dream and assessing the result. And you can also be looking forward to, and sometimes a dream will say, why do human beings have the capacity for imagination? And it comes with our self-awareness. So we can look at ourselves and realize we are not our ideas. Then we can make brain copies of ourselves, put them into virtual imaginary situations, have them run little programs, and assess whether we like what we think the result's going to be based on what we had our imaginary self do. So, and I don't know if you guys know Jordan Peterson at all. He talks about this in terms of assessing, the idea of letting our ideas die so we don't have to. That's what our imagination is for, is kind of this, what if I don't like that result, I'm gonna what if something else. So that whole idea is kind of, and that can happen in dreams as well. It's a lot of times we put ourselves on these virtual adventures in our dreams, and we try and decide how we think or feel about this idea we're considering. So I had a point to that, lost it.
No, I mean, that's it. Yeah, it's great. Thanks for the great idea for my next movie. I appreciate that.
Right? Like I have a bunch of ideas like I want to write a book, The Psychology of Aesop's Fables, and just take all the Aesop's fables and do a little commentary on them for here's the psychological principle it's illuminating.
You're going to be in a dark place.
Possibly. Those were some brutal stories. I mean, like the old Grimm's fairy tales. They did not have Disney endings.
Those were awful.
Oh yeah. They were meant to tell the children, yes, there are wolves in the dark woods. Don't go there because you will die, because that is what happened. You died if you went into the woods with the wolves. Okay. Anything else on my list here? I think I hit all my bullet points. As we've been going through any of that, does any little element of the dream stand out where you're like, I still want to try and figure out why that showed up?
Well, I was just wondering, why is it always an old house? Is it because I like old houses?
Well, it was a spaceship once.
Well, yeah, once in a parking garage, but like 9 out of 10 times it's an old house.
Yeah. We've got that strong connection to this home that you are. That's one thing I was putting together a little bit earlier, but I didn't emphasize it, is you have a responsibility, an obligation, connection to this home, at the very least to maintain awareness of it and to know that it's one of the plates you're spinning. So right. There's something there, and it was actually your first house, right? Yeah. So there's a very strong connection there too. Like, yeah. And so it probably stuck itself in your brain as iconic. It's an icon. It's an expression of something specific. It could be related to these themes of responsibility, well, in general, but accomplishment. There's something in there of, this was your first home. It was something to be proud of. It was a level up. It was an achievement. And now it's an income source down the road where you're renting it out to someone else. And that's probably a source of security and responsibility at the same time. You got to balance the books. So there's probably something in there. Throwing all those words at you, is that connecting something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. At least I do.
It's a source of income, and it's a huge responsibility. It's a lot of work.
And it was like your first. I'm a grown up.
I got it in my 20s, and I have a very strong emotional attachment to the house. And it's when we first got married and when I had my daughter, and it's only ever been owned by women, which is interesting. And I have all of the paperwork from when it was first built, and like there's a World War II insurance bond if it gets bombed, and like the people that signed it are the people on the names of the streets in downtown Orlando.
Wow. Wow, that's huge. So there's like there's a lot of ideas connected to this house. I mean, everything you just told me, it's like all of that stuff. So that's all in your brain when you're putting that house into your dream as a meaningful location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there's that's a good understanding kind of why that place. And then sometimes things in our dreams are meaningful because of what they are or who they're connected to, but sometimes it's also not as meaningful. Sometimes it's just a familiar place, and the idea of it is that you're comfortable here, so you're going to express a feeling of comfort by putting yourself there imaginarily in your dream and then going through the motions of this other stuff. So there's probably something in there as well of you being, again, kind of back to that idea of self-confidence, that idea of being comfortable in your own skin and confident in your own capabilities in terms of problem solving. I think there's something there too. The idea you're putting yourself in this familiar space, like, I've done this before, I can do it again. Watch me.
The house is, it's our safety net, because it's, we'll never be homeless as long as we have it. We'll always have some sort of income.
Yeah.
So
very much so. Yeah. Any other elements of the dream that were like kind of stand out to you that you're like, what is that?
In one of the iterations, there were spiders everywhere.
In the passageway you were crawling through? No,
like I could see them through the window, and they were like crawling in the house, like big spiders.
They were
lots of
outside of the house.
Outside of the house, and I could see them, like looking through the window. I could see them, like lots of
I think the key to a lot of these specific iterations of within the same copy paste is going to be like at that time something was going on where there was some kind of external threat or complication that could monkey wrench your process. That's the sense I get from the idea of something that for you, I could tell brings out a disgust revulsion. Not just was it like you spiders, like, oh my God, big spiders. It was this is a big problem, and it's right on my doorstep, literally. And is it going to get in? Is it going to get into my safe place and monkey wrench my process? Yeah. So that's one thing I would pay attention to if this dream comes back, and it may or may not. That's also, please let me know. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Did we solve it in a way you don't need it anymore, or has this become such a part of you that the copy paste is always going to be there because your mind's latched onto it as an easy formula for expressing something?
Yeah.
But the second half of it is how is it going to be different next time? And sometimes if your dream shows you the same scenario over and over again, the slight variations speak louder than the similarities. Why this time? Why that the next time? And that'll say something about the struggles or process you're going through at the moment. Yeah, if you have spiders come back, look around and talk to Will about whatever might be a problem happening. To get that mutual support, to put your heads together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I'm on my own.
You coming out?
I'm back in the tunnel by myself.
You're on your own. I don't do spiders or snakes.
Well, yeah. I like little spiders. Big one, no. Like Australia, those ones that the spiders that eat birds.
Spiders?
No. Yeah.
But see, that's all comes from The Incredible Shrinking Man when he fought that spider. I just from that moment forward. And I saw it, the other day. I didn't really see when it first was released. So but it just really stuck in my head ever since then. I can't do spiders.
I remember watching the Vincent Price version of The Fly.
That's the other one too.
Yeah, that was Help me! That was a truly horrifying ending for just a silly, like low budget black and white movie. But you get a kid at the right age. And then they did the Jeff Goldblum version, and that one shouldn't have watched that as young as I did.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad.
I remember a commercial from a movie, and the girl's laying in bed, and she opens her eyes. There's a spider coming down from the ceiling. It goes right in her mouth.
That's awful. Was that arachnophobia?
It was a trailer that I saw when I was a kid. Why do they put these trailers on?
That's awful.
Kids are awake time.
I'm so glad I don't watch television anymore. I do this, and I watch YouTube occasionally. Watch people play video games. Well, we've been going for just shy of an hour and a half. I don't know if you you have more questions, I'm okay to keep going. If you feel like we got to a pretty good basic understanding.
I think we did. I think I can kind of take the ball and run with it and, try to remember some more details and see how I can work those out. But yeah, I think so. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help. But I almost wish I could have given you a more definitive answer. It's tougher with these reoccurring dreams. We're going to get more the vague outline of the copy paste and kind of understand how that fits into your life and then see what happens. So I definitely want to hear back from you as far as what did happen. Let me know.
Yeah. Okay.
So, so that's I never know how to end these things. I was just thinking today I should do I'll just say, okay, that's it. Goodbye everybody. And then I'll play a little thing that I've had time to write for myself, but, pre-recorded plug and play. I'll get that going at some point. But in the meantime, I should come back around to telling all our friends out there in the audience. Once again, we had Karen and Will here, and Will does the Skeptic Metaphysician podcast. You can find him at the Skeptic Metaphysician on Facebook. He's on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And I'm just really happy you guys came. This has been a fascinating experience for me too. It always is.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you very much. You helped me. I appreciate that.
Good deal. Well, unless you had any last final plugs for merch or other social media stuff, or I don't know.
I appreciate it very much. I don't have merch. I'm doing this for fun.
You've got the muffins. We had really good muffins yesterday. You can sell your muffins.
Anybody want some rustic blueberry muffins? I'm your guy.
That actually sounds pretty good. Warm blueberry muffins, melted butter. I think I'm gonna go make some sourdough toast. That sounds good.
That does sound good.
So, okay, I'll just say, everybody out there, hey, that's the end of the episode. I do have merch. I got a podcast. I got books for sale. You can please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. I'd like to do this for a day job. And thanks for listening.